It's time for Recipe of the Day. There are always some loose apples floating around in the crisper drawer of my fridge. I think what happens is, there's apples in there for people to snack on and grab. And then there's always a couple that were maybe a little bruised or past their prime in some way that nobody ever chooses. And that happened a couple of months ago. There were these apples that I kept noticing that I didn't want to eat, and I'm assuming nobody else wanted them either. And so I pulled them out, and I will be honest, I was even thinking about just tossing them because I was busy and I wasn't going to do anything with these 2 apples. And then I thought, what if I just stick them in the air fryer? I was pretty sure that having them go whole into the air fryer wouldn't be good. They'd need to be cored first or something. And so what I actually did was I cored them and then cut them into some wedges and threw them into the air fryer. And they turned out really great. They were soft. That time I actually just mixed them with a little bit of boiling water from the kettle and some sugar and a little bit of cinnamon, and they were really good, perfect for me to snack on. But what I noticed was that they had kind of like released their juices a little bit in the air fryer, and it had been kind of caramelized onto there and was a little messy. So I wanted to improve that. And also the sugar was just a little bit like grainy. And so I wanted to come up with something else. Like what I wanted was really to just be able to take these like sad discarded apples that nobody wants to eat and spend 3 seconds getting them ready, put them in the air fryer, and end up with a nice treat that doesn't involve a lot of like cleanup or prep. And so I did some testing, and I think it's really perfect now. This recipe is so great. I've tried it with a bunch of different kinds of apples. I haven't found a kind that doesn't work. So whatever kind of apple you have is going to be great. And what I have done is I've swapped out the sugar for maple syrup or honey, and then you don't have that graininess problem, right? And yeah, they're just really, really lovely. So that's what I'm telling you about today, how to cook apples in the air fryer. And really the point behind this recipe is to make a quick snack out of something that nobody otherwise wants to snack on, So what you do is you get a couple of medium-sized apples and you core them and then cut them into about 16 wedges. So that's if you have medium-sized apples. If you have bigger apples, you would do more wedges. If you have smaller apples, you would do smaller wedges. And the idea here is, as I'm about to tell you, they're going to go into the air fryer at 400 degrees Fahrenheit for 10 to 12 minutes until fork tender. And we're really trying to get the optimal situation where they're soft, like al dente soft, like soft, but with like a little bit of texture still, and starting to caramelize without actually like browning or going too soft. So you want them kind of in thin-ish slices. Like I said, if you imagine a medium-sized apple and you're getting 16 wedges from it, that means you're cutting it in half and then into a quarter, and then each quarter is in 4 wedges. So they are quite slim, right? Okay, so you have cut them like that, and then you put them into the air fryer skin side down. Some of them are going to topple over, but most of them are skin side down, and that way they don't release juices onto the bottom of the air fryer, making a like caramelized mess there. You can of course use one of those parchment sheets if you have those, the ones that are designed for in the air fryer. You put that in first, and then you put your apples on top, and then you don't really have to worry about whether they're all balanced on their skin side. Okay, so once all of your apple slices are in there, close the air fryer and set it for 400 degrees Fahrenheit for 10 minutes, and don't open it in that time. You really want the heat to kind of build and really circulate around those apples to caramelize them and soften them. After the 10 minutes, you can test and make sure that they are fork tender. If not, leave them in for another couple of minutes. Okay, while they're in the air fryer, get out a medium-sized bowl, and to that you're adding just a teaspoon of maple syrup and 1/8 of a teaspoon of cinnamon. Now, if you know that you like things sweeter, you can use more maple syrup, and instead of the cinnamon, you can do any of the like fall spices. I've done pumpkin pie spice for sure. I've done a little pinch of cloves in there. One of my favorites so far has been to use honey instead of the maple syrup, and then a good pinch of cardamom. And I'm not sure why, but it just tasted like Christmas. So good. So yeah, you're just mixing together a little bit of some kind of syrup and a little bit of some kind of fall spice. Mix that up. And then when your apples are ready, you take them out of the air fryer, transfer them to that bowl, give them a good toss all around and dig in. They're great just as is, a little like side dish or a little snack there. But if you wanted to use them as like a topping for ice cream or on top of pancakes, they work then too. I just like to give them a little rough chop after they're done cooking. So again, the idea here is I didn't want to mess up the air fryer by having the juices sort of all over the air fryer. And so I cook them in the slices where they ooze a little bit less. And then once they're done, give them a quick chop and then maybe a little extra syrup if you're using them as a topping, and they are good to go. Oh, I will say that if you wanted to use sugar, white sugar or brown sugar instead of the syrup, like I did the first time that I tried it, you can use some hot water and then just stir some of the sugar into there and make sure it's nice and smooth and not gritty at all. And then it'll work just fine. You can use hot butter, like melted butter, or hot water mixed together with the sugar until it's nice and smooth and not grainy, and then toss the apples with that. Once they're cooked, that is the other thing that you can do. Okay, I will put the link to this recipe in the show notes for this podcast episode, or you can head to cookthestory.com/ROTD and get it there. Everything there is arranged by date, so it's helpful to know that today is October 23rd of 2024. I'm Christine Pittman from cookthestory.com, thecookful.com, the all-new chicken cookbook, and from this podcast, Recipe of the Day. I hope you have a great day. Let's get cooking.